today's lesson to be added for whatever that has already been written there. There is quite number of things that has been added to the explanation. And if there's any addition, I will do it on the same file, and then I'll send the PDF later. And upon that, the translation of the two verse, the verse will be also sent later. So for today's lesson, we're going to discuss from the part now. For the previous class, we have discussed that the investigation, first starting with the 5 aggregates. Now so I was also thinking a little bit about this. So when we talk about the with the line that states that even the 5 aggregates are empty of intrinsic nature. So for that, there is 2 ways to understand this. One was the one that we discussed already, which is stating that during the turning of the first wheel of dharma, Buddha stated the 5 aggregates as the characteristic bearer of the self, and that through investigation, the self, in a way, could be understood as the collection of the 5 aggregates. And now, when in the second turning of karma, what Āryāvalokiteśvara is trying to say is that even those 5 aggregates, as we understand here, are also empty of intrinsic nature, counter to what is taught in the first turning of dharma. And this is not a counter because Buddha didn't knew this during the first turning of wheel, but because at that very time, because of the objective disciple at that time, because of their understanding of this particular idea, Buddha stated the 5 aggregates as the characteristic bearer of the self, and this is also the definition of the characteristic bearer of self according to Vibhashika school. Okay, so the other way of thinking is this is done. The similar investigation is done in the text of Nagarjuna, the garland of the precious garland, in which Nagarjuna states that the self is not the. So first he investigates it through the establishment of self as not being being none of the elements. So investigation could be understood. So one must also understand that the understanding of each verse can also be. So when I say be modified, one must understand that I do not mean that when you say modified, something can be made entirely differently according to one's own perception. No. The principal teaching should be the same, but the object of investigation can be varied, like we did in the previous class, where first what we did is that we took, like in the text it was stated that the form is emptiness is form. Or according to our understanding through the recompound particle, we understood it as form is of the nature of emptiness is of the nature of form, and then we can change form with the second aggregate, that is of the feeling, then compounding phenomena, then perception, and then finally consciousness. And then you can also do it the same with the first 5 physical senses, and then one mental sense, and then with the 18 elements, you can do the same. You can change the form with these, and then you can investigate these thoroughly by the fourfold emptiness. So this is what we discussed last time. So, okay, getting back to that point of Young, this can also be done according to the investigation of that is done in the Precious Garland, where Nagarjuna investigates self, and he states that, oh, self is so this and so investigation done to establish the emptiness of self and emptiness of phenomena. So the first verse usually interpreted as the investigation to establish the emptiness of self. So in which he states that the self is not even the earth, the water, the fire, or the wind. It is not even the consciousness. It is not even the there is also the alaya, which is the foundation of all the impressions, according to the Chittamatra school. That is also not self. So since these, and the collections is also not self. So if these are not self, what other than this can be understood as self? And then through this investigation, Nagarjuna establishes emptiness of self. And then the second verse, the verse that follows it, in which he investigates and establishes the emptiness of phenomena, in which he says that since the self is a compound, self is definitely, it is imputation on it is a mere imputation by the terminology or name, but still in the more conventional idea, we can also understand that it states that since it is somewhat a compounding product of the six elements, and so therefore, since it is a compounding phenomena which arises by the compounding of the six elements, it is not absolute, meaning independent. And similarly, each of these elements are also not independent and intrinsically existing, through which he establishes the emptiness of phenomena. So that is also something that one can think when they think about the line where Āryāvalokiteśvara states that even these five aggregates are not empty of intrinsic nature. So it could be understood in the context of investigating the emptiness of self and emptiness of phenomena, and also can be understood in the way that we already discussed, because it was stated as a characteristic bearer in the first turning of wheel. So even those which were stated as a characteristic bearer of the self in the first turning of wheel are also empty of intrinsic nature. So both of these you can try. Okay, so today we're going beyond that. Now we have already discussed how Āryāvalokiteśvara was establishing the non-existence of the intrinsic nature or emptiness of intrinsic nature of the sensory organs, the mental factor, and then the elements, the 18 elements, after which the 12 link dependent origination, completion of 12 link dependent origination. Finally, the Four Noble Truths were also established to be empty of intrinsic nature. So today we have like a very small portion of that, where Āryāvalokiteśvara tells us how to investigate the emptiness of intrinsic nature of phenomena and self. And afterward, Āryāvalokiteśvara states the great knowledge mantra, the Prajñāpāramitā mantra. So today's lesson is actually revolving around that very point where Āryāvalokiteśvara introduces this mantra, and then the reason why Āryāvalokiteśvara introduced this mantra. So yeah, okay, so let us go there. I've sent the same. I've sent this same file. Those who are able to view it clearly in your screen, please do so. Those who are not able to view it clearly, I'm sending. It is reverse. I'm sharing the screen. Those who are able to view it clearly on the screen sharing, please view it there. Those who are not able to view it clearly there, in your own device, whichever device that you're using. So let me share this. So this is I hope you can see this. Last time we wrote two verses for the first two near sons of Buddha. There are 8. Today we have written 2 verses for the again 2 near sons out of the 8 near sons of Buddha. Last time we wrote a verse of dedication and verse of taking refuge in Āryāvalokiteśvara and Āryā. Please understand that in the context of 8 near sons, all of these are Arya, and not at that moment, just as in reference, not referred to as Buddha. But in the essence, we know that all of these are Buddha in all 3 times. So, okay, so today we have written verse of taking refuge and dedication to Vajrapani and Āryāvajrapani and Āryā. So let me read this, and the English translation, I will be sending it with the new file in the group. So please view it there. Okay, so Samve Chöki. So I'll read it in Tibetan and then I'll just recite the translation. The translation will be given later with the file. So Samve Chöki Tonga Ngoni Chana Doje Chawa Toboche Doje Samve Chöki Guiningbo Samve Chöki Tonga Ngoni Chana Doje Chawa Toboche Doje Samve Chöki Guiningbo Pawa Chador Chawa Chatselo Benza Bani Hum. Okay, so the first line, Samve Chöki Tonga Ngoni, means the one who is the embodiment of all the power of the secretive teaching. So the embodiment of the secretive teaching, the embodiment of the power of all the secretive teaching, without whose, so meaning that without whose blessing, the secretive teaching will never manifest into anything. So the second line, the great and powerful, holding a vajra in the hand. The very essence and the lineage of all the secretive vajra teachings. I prostrate to you, O Vajrapani, and the mantra is Om Vajrapani Hum. Okay, now the second verse dedicated to Maitreya. Sangye Pedungoto Raptense, the one who taught and who simplified the hidden teaching of Buddha's 84,000 body of dharma in the text which Maitreya expounded to a sangha, the text which was passed down to a sangha by Maitreya in the Tushita. Mao Sangin Droa Trezeba, the Buddha of future, who liberates all the sentient being. So the one that is coming after the after Buddha Shakyamuni, the fifth. Kunla Chambe Gyongwe, Gyongwe Gyomba Cho, the Lord who looks after every sentient beings with as a friend. So Chamba also means as with great loving compassion, and loving kindness, also understood as the one who the Lord who looks after everyone, or who observes everyone as his friend, his great friend and great friend and sibling, someone very near and dear. I prostrate to you, O Arya Maitriya. And the mantra is Om Maitriya Mahamaitriya Maitriya Swaha. Okay, so the translation will be provided. And now with the auspicious blessing by the Buddha, the gurus, definitely first, by the blessings of every one of us, the guru of every one of us. So please think of the guru, your own guru, and Buddha of 10 direction, and Arya Vajrapani and Arya Maitriya. Let us begin today's class, and by their blessing, may this class be auspicious. Okay, so we begin. So the portion that we're going to begin here, till this point, this is a single narration. You can see it because of the two punctuation here. This punctuation is somewhat like a punctuation that is written after ending a paragraph. So to justify it more, I should do it like this, so that we understand that now till this point, it was a single narration. So from the point we begin where Āryāvalokiteśvara was telling Śāriputra about investigating, the deep investigation of all of the the method of deeply investigating phenomena as empty of intrinsic nature and to write the profound wisdom, started from the form, the first of the aggregates, and till the Four Noble Truth, and then the final portion of that narration is this. So yishime topame matopam meto pang meto. So which means that there's even the wisdom that arises. So jnana, which means, so the term is jnana or jnana or gyan or jnana, which means wisdom. So the wisdom, which is the wisdom pertaining emptiness, wisdom that arises after the shattering of conventional obscuration, this particular wisdom, which is obtained after deep investigation, after profound and deep investigation in the non-existence of intrinsic nature of phenomena. This particular wisdom is also, which is the wisdom which we talk, which is the wisdom which is the essence of the Prajñāpāramitā, the transcendent wisdom. So same here. So transcendent wisdom, even that transcendent wisdom is also empty of intrinsic nature. This is what the negation refers to here. So like we already discussed, very sorry that some things I'm repeating again and again, like a broken record, I'm repeating again and again. So the negation doesn't incline towards the two extreme, the extreme of eternalism and the extreme of nihilism. And in this case, the extreme of nihilism, it's not inclining towards the extreme of nihilism, but it's simply saying that it doesn't exist intrinsically, independently, as a unity, as one, with no dependence on anything. It does not exist. So therefore, and also please understand that the usage of the word unity should not be mistaken as the usage of the word union, as in the word yoga, union. So this too should not be mistaken and should not be used. The concept that I'm using here should not be used interchangeably as union, as the union. So this here we're not saying the about non-existence of union or anything. We're talking about unity as a single unit, and not only as a single unit, as an isolated single unit that is independent of every cause, every effect, every dependence, every imputation. So every dependence upon everything, including dependence upon imputation. So that particular type of unity is what we're talking about here. And we're not talking about the unity as in union. So in any case, this ishime means this profound wisdom. So very sorry to bring this, it's something extra. So during the after the great after the attainment of enlightenment, Buddha Buddha was investigating on whom he should expound this great wisdom, great nectar of teaching that he has received or he has discovered. And then during those time, he had his own teacher, which taught him the basis of calm abiding and superior investigation, Āryāvalokiteśvara. And he was thinking of those teacher, and he was saying that if I teach it to those teacher, like Āryāvalokiteśvara, he said that if I teach it to him, definitely he will understand the wisdom. But then through investigation, through searching through the existence, he understood that he has already passed away. So in that way, Buddha was unable to pass these teaching. And so he stated this verse. He said that this this deep, profound, and view-shattering teaching that I have, view-shattering teaching like nectar that I have received, is something that something that I cannot teach to anyone at this moment, not because I'm incompetent to teach it, it's because no one will understand this teaching. And so for the time being, instead of teaching anything, I shall reside in the great isolation of the forest. And so therefore this wonderful nectar-like teaching and this view-shattering wisdom, this is the wisdom that we're talking here, which is also not free of any intrinsic existing. It is non-existent of intrinsic existence. And then thopa, which means attainment, and matopa, which means non-attainment. So thopa, prapti, and matopa, aprapti. So prapti and aprapti. Prapti meaning attainment, to attain. So here when we talk about attain, we're talking about attainment of the transcendent wisdom. And aprapti means the non-attainment of the transcendent wisdom is also empty of intrinsic nature. So till this point, we understand that everything till this point was an object of investigation through the deep and profound understanding of the emptiness of intrinsic existence to dispel the self-grasping ignorance. So till this point, we are done with that portion. Now we go to the next portion where again Āryāvalokiteśvara is saying to Ayushmat, Śāriputra, the venerated, venerable Śāriputra. And so he says, Teta just like this, just as this, Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattvas, Chanju Sambandha means the Bodhisattvas, the plural. Because of this, it becomes plural. And it also generalizes. So the term nam what it does is that it makes it a plural, and it also makes it it also generalizes the term bodhisattva. So bodhisattva in general. So bodhisattvas in general, in an understanding, it should be, it's a particle. Nam is a particle. What it does is that it not only turns the name it follows into a plural, it also generalizes the term. Chir is a particle that says because they have not attained, they have no attainment. Toba meba means because they have no attainment. So non-attainment, it's similar. The difference is, as you can see, the both negation. The first negation is matopa, which is understood as aprapti, and toba meba, which is apraptitva. Non-attainment. So same. The difference in Tibetan is of these two negation. One is, both of these are understood as particle of negation. One which comes before whichever characteristic or verb, and other comes after a characteristic or verb. So matopa and topame. So same. These both are same negation. Difference is the position and the particle. Definitely, one is ma, other is me. So ma and me. So theta vena shirab. Okay. So theta vena chanju sempa nam toba me bichir, because and in this way, because and so in this way, the bodhisattvas. So right now, when we are talking about bodhisattvas, we're talking about the bodhisattvas who have not attained this transcendent wisdom. So here we are talking about non-attainment, and here we're talking about the bodhisattvas who have not attained this transcendent wisdom. The Prajñāpāramitā. So therefore, the transcendent wisdom to go beyond. So since bodhisattvas have not achieved that at this moment, therefore they depend on this great knowledge, which is the profound wisdom, transcendent wisdom, to go beyond. Then means so here we understand, we have the word then. Okay, so here we have then Shrita, which means having trust. So having trust in the Prajñāpāramitā, the transcendent wisdom, having faith, having belief, because at this point they're in the stage or the path of faith, which we will talk later. So in this particular class, we're also going to introduce something. Definitely some of you may know about it. For some of you, this will be new. We're going to talk about the 14 grounds. Normally, we talk about the 10 grounds of Bodhisattva. Today, we're going to talk about the 14 grounds. One ground before the path of seeing, 10 ground after and between the attainment of path of no more learning, and 3 grounds in the path of no more learning. So in total, 14 grounds we're going to discuss. So having trust and having faith in the transcendent wisdom of going beyond, and residing in this meditative state of investigation, what happens is that all the tipa. So the word tipa, which means avarana, which means defilement, all the defilement in their mind. Chipa meba means to be in the state where there is no defilement. So this happens. So this first experience of this happens during the meditative state when attaining the when during the third path, the path of seeing. In this path, while a bodhisattva, or be it, so these are five. So in that stage, these five paths in the path of seeing, any practitioner during that time at the meditative state, they will be in the meditative absorption of observing directly perceiving the emptiness during the meditative state, and at that very moment, there is no defilement in the mind. There is no defilement in the mind. There is no possible, because things like the three poisons, the mind such as the three poisons, and the 20 afflictions and the 20 near afflictions, these are all conventional mind. At the state of meditative absorption during the path of seeing, the direct observation of emptiness is not obscured by any conventional mind. So there is no defilement. So therefore it states no defilement. And thus, because there is no defilement, as a consequences, there is no fear. So it is trasta, no fear. So trapamethos, which means there is no fear as a consequence of having no defilement. Because we know that, like it's already stated, that things like fear and all those negative mind is a consequence of the affliction and defilement. And if the very cause doesn't exist, then there is no possibility of any product that will manifest from these causes. So since there is no defilement as a product, there is no fear. One becomes fearless. But okay, we'll discuss this later when we talk about this great knowledge mantra. So Chinchilok means to have inverted view. So viparyasa. So it's viparyasa. So it means inverted view, having a so one of these view is accepting a state of it's a state where one may experience, because of the illusion of mind, one may experience a certain type of liberation, not liberation in the actual meaning, but one may think that they have attained a sort of liberation because of certain type of experience in the body. Or sometimes because of illusion, one might have a certain type of what they call a sort of an out-of-body experience, which the mind is very good at creating these type of experience, because many of these things come from great pre-assumptions, mostly pre-assumption of what the liberation should be. So mind starts creating what liberation should be, and therefore there is a problem there, but not going in depth about that. So because of this, we have different type of inverted views, like views in which we have not understood what is emptiness, but we think that what we know is the emptiness. So that is an inverted view. And then both the extremes, the nihilism as emptiness and internalism as the nature of object, both of these are inverted views. So because the bodhisattva, after putting faith in the transcendent wisdom of going beyond, and sitting and reciting in the meditative state, where the bodhisattva, he or she or they, what they do is that they they stay in a state of investigation through the path, which Āryāvalokiteśvara said, empty of intrinsic nature, the fourfold emptiness. And through that investigation, later on directly perceiving the emptiness, and in that particular state, one becomes free of defilement and thus fearless. And then all of those inverted views, they shatter, because those inverted views are just conventional mind. So it shatters at that very point. So therefore, chinjilok means something that is mistaken, inverted, something that is not correct. That is chinjilokpa. Chinjilok is samba. All the mind that all those mind, those negative mind, those 20 afflictions, those 20 near afflictions are all chinjilok, which means the wrong mind. Let me just write it here. So inverted mind, those are all inverted minds or mistaken views. So therefore, this is what it is here when we mean by the inverted. So Shinto dene means it. Shinto means extremely, very intensively. Deba means to pass away, to no longer be there. So because of reciting and taking faith in this transcendent wisdom of going beyond, the bodhisattvas dispel all of those inverted mind. Not only that, also the impression of those inverted mind. And then as they go beyond the stage, they reach the state of Nyangyen Ledeba, means to transcend a transcendence of suffering. Nyangyen means suffering. Deba means to transcend, to pass beyond. Nyangyen Ledeba means to pass beyond the suffering, to transcend the suffering, meaning that there is no longer any suffering now. There's no longer suffering because of the afflictions or the afflicted mind. There is no longer suffering because of the impressions of those afflicted minds. So no longer any suffering. So it is called nirvan or nirvana. So nirvana or nirvan. So transcendence of suffering. So the state where there's no longer any suffering. So because of shattering all the inverted views, not only the views, because of the word Shinto, as we see here, not only the views, but also the impressions of these views, thus fully being purified of the two stains. The stain by the afflicted mind, the stain by the impression of the afflicted mind, both of these stains are completely purified. And so the bodhisattvas attain the state of transcendence over all suffering. So no longer any suffering there, meaning the complete enlightenment. Okay, so to means chinto, which means so chinto. It actually shouldn't be that, but because like we already spoke during the third language revolution or the third language revolution or revision, the usage of the post suffix letter ta has been less popularized. But still, since these are the sutra, they require these. So even though it's not written here, the actual spelling is chinto. The actual spelling is chinto. Where is it? Let me write. So the actual spelling is this. So This is the imperative case. So the Bodhisattva thus goes beyond from here. So it's something that stated in the imperative case. So Chinto. So they attain the state of transcendence from all suffering. And this is the recompound particle. So therefore, till this point, we have a single narration. So now we have, it is a continuation, but it's a different narration. So therefore, since it's not a different paragraph here, but just a different narration, we don't need to separate it as a paragraph. Though if you want to read it more comfortably, you can do it like this. Okay, so tusum do number shobet. So tusum means 3 times. So 3 yada 1 or 3 times 3, which means 3, and yada 1, which means times. So the 3 times. Okay, so in the 3 times, the Buddhas of 3 times. So Sangye, which means Buddha. Sangye, Buddha, we don't have. So some translation translates this as the one who is perfect, or who is complete, or the one who has gone beyond. Or in some translation, it is also translated as the victorious one. So we just keep it as Buddha, which comes from the word Buddha, which means the one that has the most superior intellect. So the highest state of intellect. So the state of having the highest state of intellect. So Buddha or Buddha. Okay, so thus transcending from all suffering, they attain the state of enlightenment, and the transcendent ones, the Buddha of 3 times, those who recites those who are omniscient. Number Shobha means those who ever recites, meaning they recite in the 3 times. They are omniscient, the omniscient Buddha of 3 times. Even them, or even they, kyang means even they in here, it's they, even they, as an even, doesn't mean that it's always even, but in this context, it's even. Even they, having faith in the transcendent wisdom of going beyond, by having faith to the transcendent wisdom of going beyond. La is a word that was very popular during the second translation and the first translation. Later replaced by another term that got more popular, which is Kong or Gang. Gang la dro. Gang la sha. Put it up or put it above. And then another word that is to. So this word was substituted by 2 words. This word la was substituted by 2 words, hong and to. So above and high. So the word la, which means either high or either above, was very popular during the second translation or second level language revision. But later it was made less. It was not made. It became less popular, the usage. Like these days we say kong, which means above and below. In those times it was lao, which was above and below. And then it was Todang Ma. So high and low. So later it was popularized in this way, but it means high, something that's high. So Lana Meba means something that that is at the most highest, the most superior and the most highest. So the word La, which means Buddhi or Buddhi, which means higher or superior. Lana Mepa means Anuttara. Anuttara or Anuttara, which means highest or unsurpassable, something that no one can surpass. Nothing is higher than this. So something that I might have mentioned once, that when we also have the word Lama, which means Guru, the one who is unsurpassable. It means that nothing can surpass this. If you accept someone to be in that state, it means that nothing can surpass. No one is higher than this. So we cannot think like, oh, okay, it is Lama, but this is Buddha. But the thing is that it is Lama. Okay, so this is Buddha. So Buddha does not surpass Lama, because then there cannot be it just violates the meaning of the word, which means the one who is at the highest, the one who is unsurpassable. Then there's something that surpassed it. So how could it be unsurpassable? So therefore we always say that the Buddhas of the 3 times, the 4 direction, and the of the 10 directions are not separate from one's guru, because once you accept one as your guru, Lama, that means that that state, whoever is at that state, is unsurpassable. So therefore, the word Lana Mepa, also similar to the word Lama, which means highest and unsurpassable, Anuttara. So something that cannot surpass this. So Lana Mepa, Yang Thapar means perfect. So something that is perfect. Zobe Chengchu means Buddhi. So Zopa means some. So we say Sam Buddha, which means Zobe Sangye. So we say Sam Buddha, Samyak Sam Buddha, which means Zobe Sangye, the complete Buddha. Because we have Pratyek Buddha, which is Rang Sangye, which is and then we have so normally when we talk about the 3 paths, there's the path of Bodhisattva, the path of the Pratyek Buddha, the path of the Sharvaka. So therefore the Samyak Sambuddha, the complete Buddha, is at the final stage where the Buddha is Lanamipa, unsurpassable, and transcendence of all suffering. So the word Dzogpa, which means some, similarly used in the word Samyak Sambuddha. So complete. Yes. So complete Buddha. So it's the same term. So when we are reciting the praise, we have different name for Buddha. Sometimes we use Sangye, sometimes we use Zobe Sangye, sometimes we use Yang Taopar, Zobe Sangye. Like these are like words that we use. Like for example, when we like in those old times when someone was addressing or introducing like a king or someone high, they had like these great and long address. They would say the conqueror of lands and this and that, and they had like this very long names. I think in Tibetan we call it Unju, which we did a little bit of it during the grammar class. We just introduced it. We didn't go through that, but we just introduced it. It's like synonymic. So similarly, when addressing to Buddha, then in some prayers we have these different names like Deshishepa, like Tathagata. We have Deshishepa, Yangtapa, the perfect, the Tathagata, the perfect, the complete Buddha, the unsurpassable. So we just add to it as an addressing the Buddha, but it's the name. So even we call it Buddha, or if we call it the complete Buddha, we call it Tathagata. We call it victorious one. We call the transcendent one. All of them refer to Buddha, but it's a way of doing it. So therefore, so Sambuddhi. So here we see Dzogchen Sambuddhi. So which means complete enlightenment. And the one who have attained that, Sambuddha. So the one who attained it will be Sambuddha. So one who has attained the Buddhi will be Buddha. So Changchu, which means Buddhi or Bodhi or enlightenment, or Sambuddhi, which is the complete enlightenment. So both of them are same. So one must know that both of them are same. So it's just saying it in a different way. So it's a synonymic. So here it states so where is this term? It's a beautiful term. Where is it? Search. Songompar abhi, which means to manifestly. So something that is manifest in this manner is tingompa. Similarly, we have the word ngunto, which means higher realm or higher manifestation in higher realm is known as ngunto, which means manifestation of one because of their connective karma. So we talked about it during the 12-link dependent origination introduction only. So I wouldn't say during 12-link dependent origination because we didn't went through that as a lesson, but just an introduction to that, we had the second link, which was the connective karma. So because of one's connective karma, one's name, one's consciousness enters a body and it acquires a name and a body. So this name and body, acquiring of this name and body is dependent on that connective karma. So Ngunto means higher rebirth. And so manifesting into a higher rebirth, so Ngun or Ngun, which means manifesting, which is also a teaching, which is also a important portion of the teaching of Buddha. So the profound aspect of the teaching is of the wisdom pertaining emptiness. The hidden aspect of the teaching is of the 10 grounds and the 14 grounds, where one is taught about how to manifest oneself into a higher ground. So manifestly, Wompar Zoba means to manifestly complete, meaning to complete all manifestation to the most perfect manifestation, meaning that completion of the connecting karma, no longer connecting karma, no longer taking birth due to connecting karma. But this has even a much more deeper meaning, which means that no longer manifesting with ignorance, be it ignorance of the affliction or ignorance of the impression of the affliction. So that is manifestly complete. Abhisam. So we seek sam, which means complete. So Ngompa Zoba Sankeso, which means has attained enlightenment. So even the Buddhas, the Tathagats, the Buddhas, the Sambuddha of the 3 times, by putting faith, by having trust in the profound transcendent wisdom of going beyond, they too attain the state of complete perfect, and manifestly complete Buddha. So they become Buddha. So till this point, what Āryāvalokiteśvara is doing is saying why this particular knowledge, that is of the transcendent wisdom of going beyond, is something that one must devote or have faith in. And so this is also the reason why this particular knowledge, mantra knowledge, is known as the great knowledge. The reason why it's called the great knowledge, the mantra is known as the great knowledge, is because of these characteristics. That by putting trust in this, not just when we say putting trust, it doesn't mean putting trust without any reasoning or blindly, to establish the understanding through investigation, through analysis, through investigation. Then finally, and shattering through all those conceptual, conventional views, to directly perceive the wisdom, or to directly perceive the emptiness. So wisdom is a mind, but so it becomes conventional, but the nature of things, to directly perceive the true nature of things. And then finally attaining the enlightenment, it has this characteristic and the ability. Therefore, it is understood as the great knowledge. And therefore, Āryāvalokiteśvara is telling Śāriputra why, and why this is not a lie, and that it is a truth, this transcendent wisdom of going beyond. And this great knowledge is truth and not a lie. So therefore, this is why this is the meaning of this particular paragraph. It is a logic in Hindi we call it a praman or pramanikta. It's a logic or epistemology of why this is a great knowledge. This Prajñāpāramitā is a great knowledge. So this formula, so very sorry to use this word, it's not correct, but it gives an idea. So this formula, this particular formula or method or mantra, which is the knowledge of the mind. So mantra, this knowledge, why is it known as the great knowledge? Because even the bodhisattva who have not attained the profound wisdom, by putting trust in this particular knowledge, is capable of capable of being without defilement, and so being fearless, and finally transcending all suffering and attaining the complete and perfect, uncomparable, highest enlightenment. And not only the bodhisattvas, even the Buddha that are in the three times, the one that has already arrived, the ones who are arriving, and the ones who will arrive, also will attain the similar state of Buddha by putting faith in this transcendent wisdom of going beyond. So this is, and because that is the reason, this becomes a great knowledge wisdom. This becomes not only any knowledge, it becomes great knowledge. And so in this paragraph, by this logic, Āryāvalokiteśvara states this particular knowledge to be great knowledge, to be the unsurpassable knowledge, to be unequal, and a knowledge that makes someone into unequal, a knowledge that dispels all suffering. And because of this reasoning, since it is not a lie to be the truth, states the knowledge of wisdom of going beyond or transcending beyond. So some of the terms here are quite important. So first term we have is so this we will talk later, not now. So nga, which means mantra, similar to knowledge, one may understand it, but mantra, a very profound sound. And here I have compared it to a formula. So very profound method. So in this way, this is the the mantra, the knowledge of going beyond this is the knowledge, the mantra of the wisdom of transcending or going beyond. This is the knowledge, not only any knowledge, this is the knowledge of the great knowledge. Maha, where is it? Mahavidya. Maha means great. Vidya or Vidya means knowledge, great knowledge. Mahavidya, great knowledge, the knowledge of great knowledge. Minyampa means asama. Asama means same. Asama means because or me is the negation. So it means non-sameness, unequal, something that is unequal, something that is unsurpassable, unequal. There is nothing equal to it. So a knowledge that is a knowledge which has nothing equal to. So something that cannot be compared, uncomparable, unparalleled, unequal knowledge. Nyampa means sama, which means same. It doesn't mean that it is the equal knowledge. We must understand that by reading this line. It says Nyampar chepa, which means something that makes the one who are unequal to that, who are not in that unsurpassable state, to be at the unsurpassable state. So the knowledge that transcends those who does not, so just like the Bodhisattva who has not attained, who has no attainment of this profound wisdom, because of this knowledge, they attain this unsurpassable, unequal, unparalleled knowledge. Tunga, which means suffering. Dukkha, sorry, it doesn't. Tunga, which means dukkha. Last time we already discussed that suffering does not encompasses the entire detail of this. So tunga, which means suffering. Tamche means entire. So rab to shiva means to completely dispel, most excellently dispel. So the knowledge which most excellently dispels all the suffering, because we already understood that by reciting on this, taking faith on this, the bodhisattvas attain the state of transcendence over suffering, or dukkha, the nirvana. So therefore, this knowledge is a knowledge that dispels all of the suffering. Muzumpe. So here we zumba means lie. So let's go here. So mizumpe, the usage of the particle of third grammatical case. So here we have used the particle of third grammatical case, which is hakyuku yisayi here. And here the usage case is understood as indicated a reasoning, so giving reason. And so it must understand that as because it is not a lie. It is truth because it is not a lie. And so the entire line, which means can be understood as knowing it, knowing what? That knowing the great knowledge of the mantra, and also the great knowledge mantra, this mantra, to be true. So knowing that the great knowledge mantra, here when we understand it as great knowledge mantra, we're understanding it as this mantra, that this mantra being, this knowledge being not a lie. And when we talk about the great knowledge of the mantra, which is the great knowledge of this mantra, we must understood we must understand this paragraph, the very essence of the knowledge of this mantra, which enables anyone who is unsurpassable to be who hasn't attained the state of unsurpassable to attain the state of unsurpassable, that is of the Buddha. So that is what we understand by this line, and by providing this particle, the particle of third grammatical case. So we must understand it as knowing it being the great knowledge, it being both the great knowledge of the mantra and the great knowledge mantra, both the mantra and its knowledge, to be true. And it is true because it is not a lie. And what is the reason or epistemology that supports this reason or logic? Is the reasoning that was provided in the former paragraph. And that entire paragraph becomes the backbone of the reasoning. The praman, in Hindi we call it praman, pramanikta or praman. It becomes the praman or logic or reasoning for the entire, for it to be true and not a lie. And so, because it is truth and not a lie, stating the knowledge of the wisdom, of the transcendent wisdom, so, or the wisdom of going beyond. So, stating the mantra or the knowledge of going beyond, or knowledge of the transcendent wisdom. And this knowledge is this. So, Tayatha, Kate Kate. So, some add Om. You may recite it as Tayatha Om Kate Kate Parakate Parasam Kate Podiya Soha, or you can recite it as Tayatha Kate Kate Parakate Parasam Kate Parasam Kate Podiya Soha, or Tadyatha Kate Kate Parakate Parasam Kate Bodhi Soha. So the word Bodhi, which is not masculine but feminine word. So Bodhi, which is the Sanskrit for the word Chungchup. So we already discussed what Chungchup is. It is the complete enlightenment. Chang, it has two parts. So to attain the complete enlightenment, there is two parts to understand. The first one is Chang, which means dispelling all the stains, to dispel, to purify, to wash all the stains of the body, speech, and mind. Chup means attainment of all the knowledge, which comes from purifying all the stains. So Changchup means, so therefore, let me just write this. So in Tibetan, when we describe Buddha, one way of describing is Kun means the one who dispels all the fault, all the imperfect, all these, the fault, all the error, mistakes, all the defilement, stains. Sel means to destroy or to dispel. Yunten means quality here. Yunten means good quality. Kunde means and having all the good qualities, dispelling all the bad qualities and possessing all the good qualities. And that is how one describes a Buddha. Buddha is free of all the defilement, all the wrong, all the mistakes, all the ignorance, all the bad qualities, and is with all the great qualities, the good qualities, and the transcendent qualities. So that is how we describe it. So Bodhi is the meaning of the Bodhi. Now we go through the meaning of this particular knowledge, because we know that now we already understood that this is such a wonderful knowledge. So how do we understand it? So Tadyatha, or which means this is in this manner, or in this manner, or this which is in this manner. So it is like this. So in this manner, or Ditate in Tibetan, Ditate, it is like this. Gate, which means which means gone. Paragati means gone beyond. Parasamgati means completely gone beyond. Bodhi means enlightenment. Swaha is something that is not translated in English, because it is something that has to do with one reason is because Swaha is something to do with the it's something that has to do with ritualistic practices. When we do the fire offering puja, when we call it jinse, in Hindi we call it yagya. In that, when we offer the offering in the fire, we say swaha. So it's a ritualistic word that comes with the mantra. But by the way His Holiness is according to the way His Holiness is explaining it, swaha in somewhat is understood as established as a Buddha. Go beyond. So gone beyond, gone completely beyond, and established as an enlightened being. So in somewhat one can understand it in this way. Okay, so the final portion of today's lesson has to do with this mantra. So so the great knowledge mantra, which is the Prajñāpāramitā mantra, should be understood in terms of the 5 parts. So when we talk about the entirety of the path of Buddhism till the enlightenment, it is classified in 5 parts. So it's also the same for the Sharvakas, the Pratyek Buddhas, and the Bodhisattvas. So 5 paths, and each of those paths. So the first 2 paths are still obscured by conventional mind. So when I say conventional mind, it is also true that the mind, so one might also argue that until one has not attained enlightenment, it is obscured by conventional mind, and that is true. It is also true that the mind is obscured by conventional mind during the non-meditative state for the 3rd and the 4th path. So let me add this here. Otherwise, I think that because during the 5th attainment of the 5th path, there is no such thing as obscuration by convention or any ignorance. So 3rd and 4th path. So during the attainment of the 3rd and 4th path, definitely during the non-meditative state, the mind is still obscured by conventional mind, though it doesn't go, it's not that inclined towards it, but the observation of things, the appearance are still conventionally. So it's a conventional appearance still, even during those 2 paths. The first 2 paths, definitely, be it in the meditative state, be it in the non-meditative state, the mind is obscured by conventional mind. But during the attainment of the 3rd path and beyond, during the beyond to the 4th path, the mind is obscured by conventional mind during the non-meditative state, but during the meditative state, one directly perceives the emptiness, therefore shattering all of those conventional concepts. But the mind during the meditative state at the path of seeing, which is the 3rd path, and the path of meditation, is not obscured by conventional mind, and that is during the meditative state, not during the non-meditative state, but during the meditative state, because at that time the mind is directly perceiving the emptiness. So it is at the part of no more learning that in both meditative and non-meditative state, the mind is no longer obscured by conventional mind because one has already attained Buddhahood by then. So there is no longer obscuration or ignorance. So we must understand it in the context of five path. The first, the first two of the gate here we see. The first one is tatyatha. So it's this is in this manner. Gate must be understood as the first two of the path. Chola, the path of accumulation. Chola, the path of preparation. So one must understand this as the first two path, gate, where one proceeds towards the path, because before that one is a non-practitioner, and then even though during that time one may try to be in the path, practice without being at the path, being entering the gate towards either of the path. It could be the path of the Śāriputra, it could be the path of the Prajñāpāramitā, it could be the path of the Bodhisattva. If one does not apply themselves to that path and yet does something which is a practice, still one is not understood as being in the path, and is not able to accumulate merits that will go beyond manifesting into a birth, manifesting into rebirth in higher realm. Definitely, whatever they do will have, because everything has every action will have a certain type of result, and therefore these connecting karma will manifest themselves. But the manifestation will only be limited to attaining higher rebirth, and nothing else. But once one is able to determine themselves in entering a path, be it Śāriputra, path of Śāriputra, be it the path of Prajñāpāramitā or the Bodhisattva, that is, to enter those paths, one must have an unshakable renunciation towards these cyclic existence. Then each of these but in the on the path of Bodhisattva, this only is not enough. One should have that type of renunciation coupled with the intention of attaining enlightenment for not only self but for the entire sentient being. Then one starts walking on that path, which is the path of accumulation. Accumulation of what? Accumulation of merit. And does it mean that there's no merit before that? No, it doesn't mean that. There is merit, but it only manifests as a higher rebirth. But in this case, it goes directly towards attainment of enlightenment, or the highest part of each of the path. Then the second is the path of preparation of perceiving the non-conceptual wisdom. And so both of these paths is represented by gate and paragate, which is the transcendent. Why is it transcendent now? Because now the mind is no longer perceiving conventional conceptuality of reality, concept of reality. It is perceiving the it's perceiving the true nature of things, the emptiness. So therefore it is transcendent. Paragate means to go beyond, gone beyond what? Gone beyond the ability to not see the true nature of things. Because now in the third and the fourth part, the path of seeing and the path of meditation, one is capable of not only experiencing but also directly viewing emptiness in the meditative state. And so from in the fourth path, we have the 10 stages. We have the 10 stages known as the Dasabhumi. So these are the 10 stages of the path of Bodhisattva. And one must understand that when one attains the 10th stage, they're attaining the 10th stage of the Bodhisattva, that even at the 10th stage, one is not a Buddha. It is after transcendence, after the 10th stage, that one truly attains the 5th path, which is the path of no more learning. And so the 5th path, which is known as Milopnam, which means the path of no more learning, and be established as Buddha. That is the meaning of the word parasamgate, complete, to completely go beyond. That to be understood, that complete, to be manifestly complete. So no ignorance anymore, no need of learning. So all the 4 paths before this are path of learning. This 5th path is known as the path of no more learning. And so, therefore, establishment of buddhi, which is the highest state, uncomparable, unsurpassable state of complete enlightenment. Okay, so now so therefore, this is how one must understand. One must understand this mantra, this knowledge. So this is like this. So first, kate, you go into the gate, and then you transcend through the gate of non-practitioner to a practitioner and into the path of accumulation. Then through practice and deep contemplation, you establish the calm abiding and the superior side, and then you establish the superior side here during the path of preparation. Then through great contemplation and cutting through by the superior insight, coupled with the calm abiding and single-pointed focus, at a certain time, you go beyond the conventional concept of reality, and then at the meditative state, you go beyond this and attain the path of seeing. And then you try to accumulate the 10 stages. Each stage you accumulate each perfection, so 10 perfections. So in the path of seeing and path of meditation, and finally, you attain the complete enlightenment. So this is the meaning of this mantra. Okay, now a little more extra. So if the information today is much more than what was provided in the previous class, so I would apologize for this. So please be patient with me. So I thought that this was an interesting information which relates very much with the mantra. So the path of Bodhisattva, beyond the path of seeing till the path of no learning, is classified in 10 paths of Bodhisattva, known as the Dasa Bhumi. So Dasa means 10, Bhumi means stages or ground or stages. So so from the extremely joyous, which is the first ground of Pramukdita Bhumi, to the 10th ground, which is the Dharma Megha. Dharma, which means the Dharma. Megha, which means the cloud. Bhumi is the ground. So till this 10th ground, these are known as the 10 paths. And those, so I'll just send this in the group. So those who are interested, you can see it in the group later. So, so now the entire part, the 5 path, can be classified into 14 grounds now. Not only 10 grounds, but 14 grounds. And how does this 14 ground works is that first there is the 2 grounds which in which one is unable to view the emptiness directly. So only through conventional mind. So these are the 2 paths that we talked about: the path of accumulation and the path of preparation, in which it is understood as ground of faith, to have trust. Like we said, the bodhisattvas will have trust first, in the Prajñāpāramitā. So this is the ground of trust. So ground of trust. And both of these parts are considered to be single ground in the 14 grounds. So the ground of faith or trust. After that, through the superior sight, they cut through all those conceptual illusions and delusions and mind, and then they attain the path of seeing. So after the path of seeing to the attainment of the path of no more learning, it is the path of meditation, which is classified in 10 grounds of Bodhisattva. The 10 grounds of Bodhisattva, from the first ground, which is the extremely joyous, to the cloud of dharma. So when one attains the 10th ground, one must understand that they are still Bodhisattva. After the transcendence from there, they attain the 5th path, which is the 5th path of no more learning. In this path, they have already become Buddha, but even there are the path of Buddha is classified in 3. The first one is the incomparable ground, the incomparable ground, which is the 13th ground, and then the where one is now unsurpassable, and then the 4th one is, so now the classification of ground is no longer based on learning anything. It is simply based on the things that the Buddha must do after enlightenment. So this has nothing to do with learning now. It has only to do with their path. The difference in the path is the progression of their actions that they do as a teaching and blessing to the world, to the samsara. So one must understand that in this stage, it's already Buddha. But the 3 classification based on the progression by their action to different times. So the incomparable ground, the first of the 3 grounds of Buddha. The second one is the ground of attaining the primordial wisdom, the primordial wisdom, and then finally, the ground of constant illumination, the universal light, the state of universal light. When one has completely finished all the actions and the stages of being Buddha. So from the first stage of the ground of faith, finally to the stage of universal light. These are the 14 stages. And this 14 stages, so the first gate is in this stage, the ground of faith. Paragate is in the 10 ground of Bodhisattvas, and Parasamgate is in these 3 stages of incomparable ground, the ground of attaining primordial wisdom, and the ground of constant illumination, or the ground of universal light. So this is something one can contemplate while reciting this mantra. Okay, so this is it for today, and I hope there wasn't too much. And thank you very much for the kind word. So before I read the final verse, the verse I haven't changed the verse of dedication. So I'll just keep the verse same for the entire classes that we have now. I think we have 2 more classes now, I think, during which we will have the same verse of dedication. So before I recite this, any questions? If any questions, I'm going to answer questions. Ni syllable what we meet today in Vajrapani, and in main text, when I think about it, function, the 2 others come into my mind, Kona and Rang. They look similar but not identical. Sama. If we use today's vocabulary, how the 3 relates one to. Okay, so Rang means self, Kona means itself. So Kona means itself, Rang means self, and Ni means it's more like that itself. So something that is that itself. So it's very similar. The usage is also very, very similar when it it's very similar. So when we understand it, so when we say orang, korang, morang, which means himself, herself. Tekona, dikona means that itself, this itself. But when we use it as with, so let me write it. I think when I write it, it's much better than just saying it. So let me write it. See this one goes here. Okay, there. So the difference, you will see the difference when I use it with different pronouns. So okay, so we have kona, korang, morang, korang, ngarang, kerang, korang, which means him, morang, which means her, korang, which is him or her in a respectful manner, ngarang, which means I, and kerang, which is you. Right? So this tells us the usage as him. And here we have the usage as her. And we have the usage as him, her is with honorific. So honorific. And then we have ngarang, which is I, and kerang, which is you. So we see that it's similar to using the pronoun itself. There's not much difference when we translate it, but it means korang means him or he self, which is him. Morang means she self, which is her. Korang is he self or she self, honorific, which is him and her in honorific. Ngarang means I self, which is I, and kerang is you self, which is you. But and we have terang, terang or tirang. But now when we use it as terang is, tirang is, that or this. It is that or this. But when we say tirang good or terang good or terang good, it means I only want that, I only want this. Now the rang manifests in a different manner. But when we have the word like kona, the kona, it means that itself or this itself. That itself and this itself. So we see the usage translated as itself, kona, which is not same as self. But when we say kokona, kokona, now it no longer translates as itself. but it translates as he only, she only, and I only. Kokona means he only. So we see that the translation changes here to only, which doesn't happen with rang. It stays as self, and then it doesn't. It only becomes only. The rang only becomes only if there is this this verb that means to need, to want, to need. So if we don't have this word that indicates to need, it doesn't change to only. But in this case, if we use it with that and this word kona, it becomes itself. But when we use it with other pronouns like he, she, or I, it becomes only. So that's the difference between these two. And but now when we use it as, so let me show you the third one. Moni. Or Koranyima. Ngani. Toni. Ini. Semi. Ini. Ini. So in this usage case, we see Koni to be as himself instead of him or he only. It becomes himself. Moni is herself. Ngani is I or I self or myself. Sorry, myself. Keni is yourself. Simni is mind and self. Tini is that itself. And Tini is this itself. So only when ni is used with he, which is that, and ti, which is this, it has similar meaning to te kona and te kona. That itself and this itself or that itself. Other than that, it becomes himself, herself, myself, yourself, myself. So you see the differences are not very big. Sometimes it may even feel that these are interchangeable, but in the sense of understanding, we may sometimes have a difference when it's used with more words. So if we have more words, it may manifest quite differently sometimes. Like, for example, Kona, Yecha, which and Ko, Kone, Yecha, Jetu, Koni, Ni, Yecha, Jetu. So the first one, Quran ki jaretu, Quran ki jaretu, which is a possessive, particle. Quran ki jaretu. This is his word. Kokone ki jaretu. We must only listen to what he says. So let me write it in English so we'll have a more understanding of the usage here. This is this talk is about him. So it is only his wish. And this must understand as this is his own words. So you see that when we write in English, they translate differently because now we have more dynamic because of the addition of different words. Like I said, when you have more and more words, things tend to change quite differently. Which means the talk is about him. It is only his wish, meaning whatever he says is true. Meaning that right now, whatever he says, we have to do it. Think something like this. He's not listening to anyone. It is his own words. Whatever is said right now is his own words. So we see that it changes depending on the sentence. But in some cases, these are also quite same. Like if you say, okay, so I will write about this more in the group. So you can, everyone who is interested may check it in the group. So I can answer one more question if anyone has question. So any more questions regarding today's lesson? If anyone has any question for today's lesson, then they may ask away. And I will send the PDF, and then I will also share the same thing about the 14 grounds in the group, the 10 grounds, and all the 10 grounds, the 14 grounds in the group. So those who are interested may view it there. And like we already discussed many classes ago, the assignment is, if you want to make sentence, you can make it and send it to me. I will check them. And if you want me to listen to, I have listened to some of the recordings in many different languages very wonderfully, and some of which I hope that I will be able to memorize faster, some of which I will memorize a little slower, but I'll make sure to memorize every one of those. So does anyone have any question? If not, then I'll just read the verse of dedication, and then this will be it for the class. Okay, so let me read this. So it's the same dedication that we had during the previous class. So therefore there's already the English translation. So so by the power of the merits accumulated here, may all sentient beings follow the path of the union of method, which is the bodhicitta, and wisdom, which is the wisdom pertaining emptiness. May everyone gain the complete perfect qualities of the sugatas, and may everyone attain the highest state of the Guru, which is the incomparable, unsurpassable, like we already discussed. So, Namo Guru Buddhaya. I prostrate to Guru Buddha. So, this is it for today. And thank you very much for those who have joined in for today's class. All the materials will be uploaded. So, those of you who want to check that may check it in the channel. And now we're left with 2 classes, and I'll try to write a short summary of what we have studied today in the class. We'll try to understand this, and I'll write a sort of a summary. And yes, so those who are joining me for grammar class, we'll have our grammar class tomorrow. We are already done with the usage. I think we are at the usage case of the inclusive and ornamental. And those who are joining me for the Dharma vocabulary class, I will see every one of you on Sunday. For now, we are left with, yeah, I think we'll be able to finish the entire text in 2 classes. So most auspiciously, I think we'll be able to finish it. And I think this is the 6th class, so we have 2 more classes. So we are still left with 4 of the near sense, so we will write dedication to them in those classes. Okay, so now before we end this, the small small confession that I always do. So I apologize to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions and 3 times, and the sentient beings, mother sentient beings, for the delay in attaining the enlightenment. And I shall take this as an inspiration to work harder and attain the complete enlightenment. I apologize to all the precious students, mother sentient beings, and all the Buddha and Bodhisattvas for teaching this wonderful text in my most imperfect speech. And that with this, these classes that we're having, I take it as an inspiration to work harder and to improve myself and to teach the same text in the speech of the Guru. And may all of us, by the merits accumulated here, may all of us soon attain the unsurpassable and unequal state of the Guru. So thank you very much for joining in, and I'll see every one of you for either grammar class, for both, or for the Dharma vocabulary class. Thank you, Tashitele, and yes, Tashitele.